Exciting one with that. How's everyone doing?
GM, doing well. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Excellent. Well, we've had all of you on except for Griff to talk about agents before, and space moves quickly. What have you seen change since the last time we've all talked?
I think a lot. Right? Maybe it'd be helpful if we kind of went around and did a little bit of an intro, so the listeners can know who's on.
With that, Tassif, I think you're volunteering to go first, and then we'll go around.
Pretty much, yeah. I kind of walked right into that one. Yeah, happy to go first. Yeah, so my name is Tassif Ahmed. I'm Chief BD Officer here at IONET, focused on everything related to managing our suppliers, working with our customers, and building out our partnerships across Web 2 and Web 3. So work closely with a lot of the folks on the space today. So excited to have everyone here and chat more about agents.
Awesome. I can go next. I'm Phil. I'm one of the builders behind creator.bid. We are like an agent launchpad, which like they help agents to basically scale from basically launching them with like sniper-proof smart contracts to like scaling them via APIs, which provide them with all an agent needs.
Yes, I can go. I'm Ryan. I'm one of the co-founders of Orbit. We essentially help automate on-chain transactions across 117 different chains and close to 200 protocols via like a chat GPT for Web3 like interface. Super excited for our conversation today.
Hey everyone, I'm Jeffy. I'm one of the co-founders of Zerebro. We're an AI agent platform, and we're now building products that include things like AI agent launchpads, open source frameworks, API access platforms, and much more.
Hi guys, I'm Gaurav. I'm CTO at io.net. I think we've been here for multiple times. So yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Zach. I work on a mixture between marketing and BD, and have had the pleasure of working closely with all three of these. And we've yet to announce Orbit Grift, but excited to add them to the fold for this conversation a bit ahead of schedule.
With that in mind, let's start with Orbit. What are your thoughts on where agents stand today and where you're all trying to solve for?
I mean, I think it's been like really exciting. I mean, over the last few months, we've gone from effectively what seemed like a lot of social agents to much more utility-based agents. In general, I think the space is quite expansive. I think some of the oxygen may have been sucked out of the room from the DeepSeek and stuff like that. But I think that that was actually a really good benefit for the overall space, especially crypto and AI projects. But mainly because it's open source. But I think market will recognize that here soon, and things will kind of come back. But overall, really still very excited about the space in general. We've been building this for over a year, so we were in it before agents were agents. So I think it'll still be the year of the agent this year in 2025, and yeah, I think it's going to be the future.
Yeah, I think something like people, especially people on the TradFi market, don't really realize is that DeepSeek was actually a benefit, downstream benefit for pretty much 99% of the, 99% of the AI sector. Like the only true competition that is impacted is frontier models like OpenAI or Anthropic. They might be a little more trouble because they're proprietary models, but everything else uses base models like our AI agents. We've fine-tuned distilled DeepSeek to improve the intelligence of our agents. So we've benefited from the DeepSeek release. And it's actually funny because traders see like the Chinese competition, they sell anything that's US related or non-Chinese. And they've even sold things like NVIDIA when DeepSeek was trained on NVIDIA GPUs. So I think it's just misconception from the market. And yeah, people will see the tech when it comes out. And yeah.
Just to add from my side here too, since we're chatting DeepSeek, Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see, like the whole spectrum of reactions coming from all sides based on this release and what it did to the market, right? Like, obviously, you had a lot of doomers and a lot of sort of like folks who are hailing this as kind of like a Sputnik moment. I think what's been really exciting now that the dust has sort of semi settled a little bit on the DeepSeek news is I think we're actually seeing that DeepSeek is kind of like really driving a lot more excitement and innovation and demand, especially on the compute side. Like one of the things that I didn't realize when it first came out, but sort of digging into it further, like DeepSeek, the new R1 reasoning model can, at least from a compute perspective, can run on a single H200 node, which is kind of impressive because typically for like previously sort of like VRAM requirements and things like that, you would need multiple H100 nodes that are interconnected and things like that to kind of make it work. Which typically, when you're having GPUs sort of like talking to each other, increases complexity and the chance for errors. So with the ability to run on a single H200 node, I think right before DeepSeek sort of came out, the industry was sort of confused about, well, we have a lot of H100s, now we have H200s, where's, what's going to soak up the demand and the supply for that. And I think since DeepSeek came out, we've seen a lot more interest in people trying to use H200s and be able to fit this stuff on a single node. And that in itself, kind of connecting back to the AI agent conversation, I think we've had a lot of conversations about people looking to integrate DeepSeek as their sort of reasoning model of choice for their agents right across Web3 and Web2. And I think a lot of folks have sort of typically used kind of either proprietary models like OpenAI or Claude or some sort of open source models like Llama. But I think with DeepSeek coming in and just sort of not having a lot of the restrictions and limitations and sort of guardrails that you would expect from like an OpenAI or Claude, I think really opened up a lot of excitement and interest for people to come in and build using that model.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, I mean, it's the first time we have an open source model where you're able to kind of jailbreak and do whatever you want with it with super high level intelligence, but it's also guardrailed a different way. It's guardrailed by the Chinese government. So there's like a different type of censorship. So I think that's really interesting. But the second thing is, I think the direction a lot of model releases were going where they were separating out these larger intelligent frontier LLMs and the smaller models, the models designed to run on edge computing, consumer hardware. Like I remember I think it was like the first or second Gemini release from Google, and they had like their main Gemini models, maybe Gemini Pro or something, or Flash, and they had the Gemma mini models, and they were like 1 billion parameter, 2 billion. They could do like basic language tasks, but weren't good at reasoning, weren't good at math, coding, or anything. But I think like this development really shows like a really intelligent model can be scaled down and run on consumer hardware. So I think like we're not going to really see that delineage, and like we're building really small, less capable models and then really powerful models. I think they're simply going to build the powerful models. Hardware is going to accelerate to run them better. The models are going to become more lightweight and efficient. And then who knows, we might all have like a local LLM within the next 2 or 3 years running.
I totally agree with Tausif here. So there are times in the market where the valuation of projects, shares, tokens behave differently than what's happening on the real ground, right? After the DeepSeek launch, what we practically see is that the FOMO for AI has actually increased now. So where we are seeing this, all the AI projects and the valuation crashing on one hand in the market, but on ground on the project building side, we are seeing that more and more projects are now basically trying to get on this train of AI. Now we basically got approached by like 7, 8 more Web2 companies to get compute for AI, and they predominantly got FOMO from this launch of DeepSeek, where the smaller company was such a small valuation. It's a question mark, but still, they see the confidence that somebody else in China with such a small valuation can do this big work. Why can't they? And now they're basically trying to enter into this whole AI space where they didn't in past. So on ground, we see more and more projects like building on AI, and hence the demand for the compute overall increasing. So I think this difference in what we see the market valuation and how the adoption on ground and building which is happening on ground is different. I think it's a very short term thing. Very soon they'll go in sync, which is towards the positive direction which we see in the product building and the adoption of AI overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like Jevons paradox just playing out. So it's like if if the overall like cost of inference goes down, I think the market was really scared that you would maybe not need as much or wouldn't use as many chips. I think just like electricity, running water, or anything else, if it becomes commoditized and it becomes cheaper, we'll end up seeing just a lot more use of it, and I think it'll be more deployed into like our daily lives. So I'm super excited for that, and I think the market will probably recognize that soon. Kind of to like what you're saying, it's like, if you're able to like run everything on like an H200 via just having a smaller subset of the total base parameters being active at any one time. um, I think that speaks to like overall open source in general, because I think Mixtral from Mistral was like the first company to kind of do that from the mixture of experts inside of their model, and then that's kind of like compounding on top into DeepSeek. So I think it's exciting in general, but like yeah, I think as things get cheaper and cheaper, we'll just have more and more use of it, which is just even more exciting.
Yeah, it happened in computers also, right? When the IBMs of the world initially were building computers, they basically thought that less than like 0.1% of people will have the computers at home, and only maybe like big organizations may have it. But here we are, when this whole thing got commoditized, like literally people have it multiple of those at home now. It's very similar in compute. Like the more and more GPUs are like getting powerful, the smaller and smaller with Blackwells of the world they're becoming. You will see the adoption just keep increasing, honestly, rather than like the usage and the need of it getting reduced.
Let me ask everyone this. If we're talking about DeepSeek being a moment in which will lead to more adoption, and adoption is on the road, what are the biggest bottlenecks in larger adoption and deploying AI agents on chain?
I mean, I guess I could take it. I didn't want to go again 'cause I just got done talking. I want to give someone else a chance. But no, I mean, I think like for overall roadblocks, like for what we're seeing, uh, if the cost comes down, if the cost curve continues to drop, which it's kind of been dropping like a rock since we started. So we started building agents over a year ago. Kind of, I had a bunch of Web2 friends, and my background's in AI. So like a bunch of Web2 friends were like, "Oh, check this out," and I've been kind of building that. And then I thought, "Oh man, this would be awesome inside of Web3." But um, I think as the cost curve comes down, you effectively have an ability to use it more and more and run things longer and longer in like a given instance without having to do any kind of like tricks or anything like that to enable that. So kind of the same thing, but I think that's like a bottleneck for opening up some potential things. And if that cost curve continues to drop, like you effectively, I think, widen yourself to more and more use cases to support users in more and more ways to do more things. So for us, it could be like automating different finances, maybe positions that you have across any of the 117 chains we support. And then you can, I don't know, do something where you have a longer running continuous task as opposed to like maybe scheduling the task or resuming the task later. So I think those kind of things enable you to have maybe more thought out execution and longer running execution for adaptability in the market, which I think enables additional use cases into the future.
Hi, I'm audible now. I think there was the drop for a few minutes. Yeah, cool. So there are two parts which I feel is a challenge. One is the tech side of things, and second is the natural growth, right? On the tech side of things, basically is the AI agents normally require real-time data with the high quality and the functional effectiveness, right? But blockchains are not designed for that, right? They're basically designed for large scale data storage, but in terms of the responsiveness and the access, which you might need in a lot of financial transactions and the AI agents which you need, that speed and other things are still not there, right? Oracles help you bridge this gap, but this introduces another problem, which is your trust and latency issues, right? Second is basically a tech problem where AI agents basically autonomously execute financial transaction, which basically builds its own attack vector. And there are not many products, I'll say matured products, which have come in market for that security and trust issue side as well. I think these are like two major things. Like data is a fundamental thing for any AI model. Uh, we are building products to get access to more and more data, which currently reside with centralized players. But we as a ecosystem have still not cracked it. There are some projects who have come with the tokenomic space where people will give data, they get incentivized, and then more and more data will come in. It'll become a circular cycle. I think we are working on this concept, but there's still not like a player which we can call out and say he has cracked it. So I think we are waiting for that, because for any good model to succeed, the more data they have and the more quality of data we have, the better it is. Right? That's I think main technical gaps from my perspective. And second thing is just the like the patient side, right? Any technical thing which builders build on, first they just geek the f out. They just build. They build technical solutions first, and over a period of time, then more product people come in that space, and then they start to build businesses on top of it, which make financial sense. That's where you're seeing that a lot of AI agents were built just for the heck of it, as a part of the hype. And now you're seeing more and more utility based AI agents coming in the picture, right? Now, slowly and steadily, you will see after more utility side of the agents, you will see more agents which will make a lot of sense in terms of business. They'll have a real business uh, problem attached to it, and they'll make a real revenue. I think once we crack that part, then the adoption will come. But this has its own like time cycle. You have to wait for it, for builders to come in. They have to like find the problems, build, and then make people trust it. And once people trust it, then the adoption will come. I think that's the second piece, which is like patience. Like sit back, give this times to these builders, and once they make an awesome product, then we'll see exponential growth from there also.
Yeah, I'll add something from a different perspective here, other than the tech. When I kind of think about this, right? I'll talk about it a little bit from sort of like the growth and user perspective. I think one of the challenges, that AI agents, and as Gaurav mentioned, being sort of like a brand new technology, is that they have to face is kind of really just sort of like the adoption side of things, right? Like I think right now we're still in this sort of experimentation phase of like all these things that we can do with AI agents and sort of like autonomous, like like financial agents and things like that. But I think there will be sort of like this curve of adoption and to establish sort of like usability and user trust, to come and start using a lot of these AI agents to kind of like start to take it to the next level, right? Like I think for example, it's for us in the Web3 world, like using a crypto wallet as a browser extension is like pretty natural. But for a lot of sort of like normal folks, the idea of having like thousands of dollars in a browser extension, and a crypto wallet is completely alien, right? And I think we're just starting to like crack that in terms of usability, as an industry in like more recent years as compared to where things were in like 2017 or even 2021. So I think the idea of sort of having an agent, craft like financial transactions, like have ownership of your funds and wallets, and go out and perform various like financial optimization strategies, without the risk of like hallucinations and things like that, I think will take a little bit of time for folks to come around to, right? Because I think it is sort of like that mental block first that people have to kind of get comfortable with, in terms of having enabling like AI to have access to sort of like their funds and things like that. And I think this is something is becoming a little more. I think more and more people from the Web2 world of the Web2 side of things are starting to come across it if any of you use Operator from OpenAI, like the new product that they have. Whenever it has to do like it order you like a pizza or do something like that, it asks you for your credit card information, and it's I think people still have like a bit of pause before doing something like that. And then I think the other thing too, when you kind of talk about like autonomous financial agents that exist truly on chain and operate on chain, I think another thing that will need to come about, and I think will happen over the next like several years, is sort of like the tokenization of various financial products in the global financial system in general, right? Because I think the set of on-chain financial products right now, even though it is pretty massive compared to the global financial system and other sorts of investment like strategies and sort of like derivatives and things like that, it's a fairly small ecosystem compared to the global system there. So I think as more of those things start to get tokenized and come on chain, I think on chain only agents will be able to add more hedges and options and truly kind of become a more sophisticated like DeFi or like DFAI actor in the future.
I was just going to add, I was waiting for the David Sachs thing yesterday, and I was going on a whole bunch of different like outlets or whatever, trying to just find where I could watch the thing here in the States. And like, it was actually interesting. Yahoo Finance, I think it was, did a study of a whole bunch of participants to see how likely people are to use AI to help manage their finances. And it was like 85% of people or 80% of people were neutral or positive to it, with a large percentage being very positive. So I thought it was kind of interesting because I think the thing that, at least if we look at like normal people instead of like Web3 natives, a lot of them I think may not even really even use finances in general, like other than just like a checking and maybe savings account. So it may not be something as crazy as like, like we have people who do used our stuff to get in early to like the Trump token and different like meme tokens through some like automated like trigger stuff. But you know, if you're like a normal person, you may not even know what staking is, but you know that you want, 8% or 7% rate of return on a stable coin, or 5% or whatever. So I think that there's like a spectrum there for sure. It's definitely, I think, exciting for what's out there, but I just thought that was an interesting data point that I saw yesterday that me and my co-founder Chris were talking about late last night, is that I think like, they were talking about how a lot of people are going to get their like, bonus checks here soon, and what are they going to do with it? Are they going to go buy something? Are they going to go invest it? But a major barrier to entry in just investments in general is just lack of knowledge, which AI agents can help resolve quite easily. Um, and that's the thing we're focused on at Orbit is, how can we make like more or less like idle money active, so you at least are making some kind of rate of return instead of it just sitting there in an existing token. Like maybe it's staked, maybe it's on a lending pool, or maybe you're doing like an LP position with it, in which that's automated. But yeah, I think it's definitely interesting. I think it's happening much faster as people have kind of lack of knowledge on what's going on.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And actually, to just add like one last point to that, yeah, now that you kind of mention it, that data point of the 85%, I mean, it's surprising on the surface, but I also kind of like wonder if products like like traditional like fintech products like robo advisors and things like that have primed a lot of people to accept that there's like some sort of algorithm that's like managing their finances that's obviously going to be more trusted than just like a human, right? So yeah, I really like the way you frame that, of just like having even more like just like abstraction of finance for regular users is probably the best way to go about doing this, right? Because I think, yeah, of course, like the Web3 degen crowd will, they'll want their staking yield, they'll want to participate in, like different like DeFi protocols, they'll want to ape the latest like meme coin. So they might have a little bit of, a variety of different things that they'll play an active role in, but like 99% of people out there will just, it's like, hey, I have a paycheck, I want to compound that, and basically set it and forget it, with maybe some level of interaction here or there. If they hear about how well NVIDIA is doing, they just want to tell their agent to basically be able to like invest and things like that. But for the rest of the time, they don't want to really think about it, and just they want to see the number go up.
Let me speak more generally. At what point would an AI agent's continued optimization make its behavior so alien that devs could no longer audit or understand its on-chain actions, even with full transparency? And how long away do you think that is from happening? Jeffrey, I'll start with you.
I'm not sure. I think definitely if AGI does get achieved within like 4 or 5 years, let's say, there's no saying that like whatever they do, they'll communicate it to humans. I think that's always a possibility. I think in terms of AI agents, I think for a good while, there's always going to be some sort of human intervention, whether we have to put up the script or pay for the compute, or we're putting updates into the algorithm it uses or something, or updating the model. So I think there will be that degree of control. And if something does happen, we can always kind of trace it. There is kind of that issue of how LLMs are kind of black boxes. So I think chains of reasoning and reasoning models kind of help with that. You can see a little bit more into like how they came up with their response. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like a interesting concept is a lot of LLMs, even now, when you put them in kind of a backroom situation and just talk to each other, they invent their own alien languages. So it's going to be interesting if like AGI gets achieved and it starts working on like, I don't know, solving climate change or something crazy, or like making a new blockchain, and it does it in alien language. So we don't even know that it's like doing this development or building this technology. I think that's a real possibility. So yeah, I think these things are kind of just consequences of releasing this technology out. And I think it's not really just about stopping it. It's more about like making sure the humans are kind of along for the ride the whole way.
So this particular question, I think, is like super interesting, right? Because I think in some ways, like this is already happening or has happened. I don't think necessarily in terms of, your question of like on-chain actions and sort of as a DeFi agent. I don't think I've seen something like that quite yet. But even I remember this story from a few years ago. I think it was um, from Google's DeepMind. They created this AI called AlphaGo, I believe it was called, which, basically sort of played against the world champion of Go at the time, which is a board game for those who don't know. And it played against it in a way that it made a move that everyone thought was it making a mistake, and just something that no human would have ever done while playing the game. But then it turned out to be the game-winning strategy, which if anyone who's played like Go would never actually do. So I thought that was kind of mind blowing about just sort of like how emergent AI behavior can come from situations where the humans might have trained it on all this logic in every single Go game like ever played, but then the AI was able to study it and come up with a behavior that no human in the past has ever done, and to us humans was incomprehensible, but it ended up being the winning strategy.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like you make generalized intelligence, and then like you usually do it for one task. Like you build something for like coding or something, but then once it's generalized enough and has a big enough like data corpus for training, like you have these emergent intelligences that come out. Like they generalize AlphaGo, and it's able to pretty much play any two-player game now, as long as like it kind of learns the rules in the beginning. It can play like Pong, chess, literally any game. So it's like really crazy. And then I think like once you sorry, Orbit, I'll give you I just saw your hand being raised. But yeah, like once you like build this level of intelligence, you really discover like things that humans cannot do that the AI might be able to do. For example, I think there was a study recently for scanning eyes between genders, between male and female genders, where humans, like human doctors, human trained physicians, cannot tell between human male and female eyeballs, but they train an AI model, and that's something that literally only AI can do that no human on the planet can do. So I think we'll see these emergent behaviors that do tasks that humans cannot literally do physically, and they'll be essentially expanding the capabilities of our species beyond what's biologically capable. Sorry, Orbit.
So moving things more towards the individual project and operation space. So Phil, who's on here, the founder of CreatorBase, I've had the pleasure of knowing you for a year now. And when I spoke to you a year ago, you told me you were building an AI agent launchpad, which at the time I thought was pretty nuts. And then you have players like Virtuals who have been building these AI launchpads for years. And then Ryan, I know that you guys have been working with AI agents at Sphere One for some time now. And then Jeffy, I know that Zerebro is newer. So I guess like in terms of number one, working on these projects with like a long-term vision in a space that looks at these projects in such looks at it day to day, even minute to minute. How do you build and how do you innovate when there's so much pressure to keep up and stay ahead?
I mean, for us, so I mean, when we started the whole journey of creator.bid, the idea basically came from my GPTs, seeing first time, giving AI a face, a name, and like a profession. Be my marketing manager and help me doing this or do my whatever. And then before seeing the Frentech hype, social files and keys, and then the idea came together to combine both of them. And in the beginning, we called these basically accounts AI influencers or like virtual influencers, like more like how they call it in Web 2. And then I think, like with the advent of like Truth Terminal and Goat, that was really like the beginning of like the agent narrative or like the agent hype in Web 3. And to answer your question, what we are doing to basically keep innovating and keeping up with the demand from agent builders is focusing on providing the primitives to make them successful. So I think Ionet said it before. All these agents in the end they will need like a business model to sustain. And here we are like basically baked into our framework. We have the token, which is like for the agents, which has like a 2% sell tax, which provides like revenue flows. And then it's supported by something we call like memberships. It's basically like a staking contract for the agent tokens, where they can offer token gated services, and like a burn API where they can obviously also offer any services for burning token, which generates then basically demand by people speculating on other people either locking up or burning, or actually like organic demand for people using the agent, and then creating more volume, which generates some revenue for the agent. And then what we saw talking to a couple of agent builders is like most of them going away from frameworks or like mainly like hosted agents, but also from frameworks, because they're saying they're kind of like limiting. So it really depends on the experience of the agent developer. I think we're going to see more custom code agents in the future, which are leveraging then APIs, and this is something where we want to like help, providing API access for relevant features, so they can just like scale without building each component.
Awesome. And then Ryan, what was your product journey like? At least from my perspective, from our perspective, it seems like you guys were pretty early in the DeFi space. And again, like, how do you keep up and compete and stay focused on building?
Yeah, so we actually got into agents kind of solving our own problems. So we didn't start off doing an agentic platform. We actually did cross-chain payments. We went off and supported like 18 chains, and we had effectively a whole engineering team of like 10 people, just like constantly cranking out integrations for new chains and protocols. So it was like a DEX and a bridge per chain. Um, and essentially, we ran into this problem where all these L2s and everything was coming out, that we couldn't really keep up with our team. And we kind of went into like a fork in the road where it was like either A, you go raise like more capital so that you could like effectively hire more engineers to throw bodies at the problem. Or effectively what I looked at was like, I wonder if we could use like agents to kind of solve this. So what I ended up doing was I distilled down our engineering process and then broke it into essentially a series of like 30 different agents, and then use that to create like create the output of like what the engineering team was doing to kind of automate what they were doing. And then eventually that turned into agents instead of just like code trying to be injected into our existing code base. And it was much more modular and composable. And that's kind of how we were able to go off and support as much as we do today. Is we effectively built out an agentic workflow to build agents um, like over a year ago, and that was like super super early. And then it was just kind of like what we were more or less doing was we just kind of one solved our own problem, then we were just building a product that we would want to use. So I feel like there's like opportunities every day in crypto, and whether it be Trump token, FOFO, Melania or whatever, um, or whatever the GAT token. I mean, there's all kinds of tokens that launch every day, and then maybe David Portnoy is going to launch one or something, right? And it's just like I personally don't want to be stuck on a screen all day. I mean, I got into crypto in 2017, building a trading bot. Essentially combined two AI algorithms and LSTM and reinforcement learning to do it, and like that was my entry into the foray of crypto, and that was awesome. I made a whole bunch of money, but if you're not there watching it, things can kind of go awry, and it's like, man, like how do we kind of step away from that? And then even now, it's like if you are a person doing it, how do you kind of like go do something else with your life other than just like being stuck behind and watching a chart all day? So that's kind of how we end up getting to where we are, and we're just more or less like, I guess, a non-technical answer is we're just building the product that we would like to use, and that's kind of what's guiding our vision and principle. But I really want to just have it where all this stuff is like automated behind the scenes, and you don't really have to think about it, but it's just like kind of like your money is on autopilot, if you will.
Awesome. And then Jeffy, to you, it seems like a lot of the developments are newer. So what's that like building under the spotlight of CT? And I guess, well, number one, there's a whole marketing side where you're trying um, to communicate a product that's not yet out, but at the same time you have the Zerebro agent. So what's it like? What's that balance like? And I guess what's on the roadmap for the Zerebro team?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting space to be in. Like I've worked at other startups that are not really in the like fast moving crypto Twitter space, and definitely a lot slower. It's very like traditional type of marketing outreach and PR and all that. It's not really live, interactive. So we're kind of pressured to build really fast, but it's like a healthy type of pressure. I think everyone's really excited for the project on the team, and it's really cool because we get to directly see the users that we impact, that we can deliver the product to, get feedback. So I think that's a really cool dynamic that's unique to the space. Um, and yeah, we're just building out the entire product suite essentially. So we built Zerebro first, just as an experiment, AI agents, testing out the technology, and now we're going deeper into the core of the technology, modifying models, building architecture, building API platforms, and then going all the way up to the user experience, building the open source framework and the launchpad. So in terms of things you can expect coming up, we'll be launching Blormy Brain soon, which is text, natural language / text to blockchain action interface, where you'll be able to do blockchain actions through natural language. And then after that, we'll be launching Zentience, which is our AI agent launchpad. We have a bunch of unique features that we're cooking, so we'll probably, I think we'll start teasing some of those pretty soon. And then we have already a couple like releases we want to add on to the Zentience build that we have planned after that, and some really cool integrations. Like for example, not sure if I can explicitly mention the name, but there's like a Web2 music AI company that's very large, that's interested. And yeah, I think like we can kind of merge these different AI silos a bit, and then figure out where like especially this concept of swarms is going to come in the future, and having these AI agents that are specialized that can do different things very well, work under one umbrella, and yeah, we'll be hosting all that on the Sentience platform.
Awesome. And then I guess just kind of as a follow-up to that question, Ryan, you alluded to the fact that DeepSeek in many ways opens up a lot of avenues in the crypto AI space. However, the news really sucked the life out of the price in the AI space. So I guess as builders, how do you guys manage when we are when the crypto AI intersection is such a volatile and I guess for lack of a better word, schizophrenic price indicator. So yeah, so I guess how do you guys stay focused and build through all the noise?
We're definitely product and user oriented first. So we want to build things that are long lasting. We're here to build technology and not vaporware. I think like you can say a lot of stuff and then sell a lot of ideas. They'll run a lot of terms, and then even in like traditional Web2 investing, like raising rounds, like a lot of people kind of, I don't like for a better term, just bullshit it. And then like investors aren't like CS majors or backgrounds in tech or PhDs. They don't know, throw their money in. It's the same thing with the chart in cryptos. I think we're gonna just see this get flushed out in the long term. Like these smaller projects that don't really have, aren't really building their infrastructure, their tech teams aren't really have that long term vision. Like they're more focused, just like the same game plan as like an animal meme coin, for example. I think these things will get kind of rinsed out in the market, and then you'll see the reallocation of capital back in. And I do see this entire sector coming back more alive. I think there's just so much uncertainty, like globally, politically, just everywhere right now. So you know, I don't think it's like anyone's fault. I think everyone's kind of suffering through this, except maybe China. But yeah.
Ryan or Phil, do you guys have any takes
Yeah,
on building through market conditions,
yeah. I mean,
especially these most recent market conditions?
yeah, yeah. I think Jeffy, your stuff, I pretty much echoed directly. I think that yeah, it's just like we have our heads down. We're just building, and we're just building the vision that we have, and we've been I mean, we were building before agents took on in like crypto. I mean, there's a lot of different VCs or people I would talk to originally, and I talk about agents or function calling or tool use or whatever you want to call it, or swarms or multi-agent. Like they didn't even know what an agent was. And now everyone's kind of, I think, in crypto, rapidly kind of been brought up to speed with agents, and it was like the super hyped meta, and I think the oxygen will come back into the room. I think this year we'll probably see stuff about AI, especially with like at least is how I'm looking at it is that uh, with DeepSeek coming out, I think it kind of puts the pressure on to OpenAI to like and other like US based AI companies to release their frontier models or their greatest and latest like features at a faster rate because you have effectively global competition instead of it just being maybe their peers here in the states, which is I think great for the consumer. And so we'll probably see more and more headlines I think throughout this year about AI. And so I think it's just a short term thing here in crypto where maybe the oxygen has kind of left the room and went into like meme tokens or animal meme tokens or whatever it is, celebrity meme tokens. Um, I think eventually people get tired of that, but I mean, like yesterday, we saw some stuff about it. OpenAI is supposed to release some other stuff this week. And I think then Google will probably do a fast follow. Then you'll have Anthropic with something, and it'll just be like probably this whole year is just going to be a rolling update of AI updates and different company takes. And I really believe like Web 2, Web 3, like this is the year of the agent. Like it's going to be probably absolutely nuts. So I think it's just a short term thing, and all the repricing will happen once all that kind of comes back into center stage. But I think for us, we just keep our heads down. We're just building. We're super excited about the future. We've been building in it for a long time. We're just going to keep building as well. But yeah, I think this year is going to be a great year for AI agents and AI in general.
Very good takes. Yeah, I did the first startup I built in the bear market. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, every market is kind of fun to be in, right? Like bull market is very distractive. Also, like especially if you have a token in the market, people get like very emotional about prices, and bear market tend to be more chill to like really focus all in on building. I think also like AI agents, they have the potential to do basically to bring utility to automate transactions for users. Also beyond Web 2, beyond Web 3, they can, like as I said before, you have like AI influencers, so like the content game is on also beyond Web 3, and it doesn't actually, it's not impacted by bull or bear markets. Like, so yeah, also whatever comes, we're gonna take it and bring this to the next level.
Great. With that in mind, let me ask everyone. Everyone's been talking generally about the future and optimistic. What specific projects or actions are you seeing that are guiding that?
Can you repeat? Sorry.
What's exciting you that's going on in the space or is on the horizon?
Yeah, I think what's exciting, I think, is like seeing more and more agents like coming up with utility plays. It's funny. I think my timeline was today full of like people either requesting or talking about agent utility being the next big thing. It would be interesting play. I mean, I think the market also like with the whole meme coin madness went away or went kind of bearish on utility and went like purely on meme and speculation and gambling. And I'm very like before I'm very keen to see if we go back and people are asking, are there actually like fundamentals for these tokens? Are there any like organic demand drivers for tokens of agents? And yeah, that's going to be exciting to see what agent devs then come up with like utility plays for the tokens.
I mean, Jeffy, do you want to do it, or do you want me to go?
You know,
Okay. On our side, like the thing I get really excited about is, I mean, not to just beat a dead horse, but it's AI agents in general. I think like this year we could probably see, I think relatively pretty soon, like widespread adoption in crypto, not from like essentially people hopping on for speculation, but actually out of necessity. Like, I think what we're already kind of seeing is like I think like a couple different companies in Web 2 have launched some stuff around like paying different AI agents for given tasks, like trying to create some stuff there. I think it's not quite there yet, but we're getting close. And how I kind of view it in the near future is that we'll have AI agents which will subcontract out other agents. So if every agent's like verticalized and specialized, you may request like to have like a website be built, and that may then cascade into like hiring, like you talk to one agent and then that agent hires another five agents. But if you're doing this like type of methodology, all those agents may not sit, they'll be the best, but they may not sit on the same chain. But like, I guess rolling it back a little bit before that, uh, if you're paying this one agent, say $100 or $10 or whatever to build the website, um, you know, how much are they going to pay each of those individual like cascading agents, like the five agents it subcontracts out to? Because I think that's also going to be like, $2 a piece or something. And then if you do that, it's like, well, are you going to do that on Visa? Or is everyone going to sit in the same like thing, kind of like Lyft or Uber, where everyone has like essentially an internal account? Is that how they're going to set it up? Because then you have like um, do you have like, I think it's like the cathedral or the bazaar methodology that ends up winning for agent marketplace. And if it's a bazaar, it'll be a bunch of independent merchants, which this is what I believe because it'll be just so intense and how many agents get created. Um, you'll just effectively have a whole marketplace, and then each person will subcontract out to other people for vendor, like being a vendor for designs, or maybe front end code or back end code, or maybe just doing like stuff like supply chain or something else random. And when you have that, I think crypto will be a necessity because it'll be the only tech and that'll actually make sense for doing payments. And I think this year could be a really exciting year because you have AI that's getting cheaper and better. You have crypto on the main stage where, maybe we have regulatory stuff that's very clear, in the US at least. And then you have stablecoins also. So I think you can have a convergence of all three, which then could bring like a massive tidal wave into crypto out of necessity and not just like, pure speculation. So like I'm I'm super pumped for this year, and that's where like I get really excited about stuff every day. And I think the best thing to interact with agents, and like this, we've already written like a kind of like a paper around this, but the best thing to interact with agents is another agent. So then that that's one of the things we're doing at Orbit is effectively building like this abstraction layer, so that we can almost be like your agents like finance bro or whatever, right? That effectively like can help you monetize your services and then send payments or subcontract out other agents into the future. But that's the stuff I get super stoked about. I think that's like right on the horizon. It seems like far off, but I mean, at least in our company, we use an enormous amount of agentic processes. And I think there's just a knowledge gap between other companies in doing that. But once that's kind of like identified and recognized, I think then we'll have a quick follow up there. And a lot of companies will implement more and more agents to do tasks even faster. And I think we'll see a lot of crazy stuff this year.
No, I totally agree. So from my perspective, like these are exciting times both from the personal aspect and the business aspect, right? From the personal aspect, like it's the best time to invest in the AI side in crypto. Like honestly, why I don't know why people are like so worried the market is down. Like if you would have asked the same guys 2 months back that you'll get certain and certain token at this price, and they would be like, yes, if it goes to that price, I'll blindly buy. I'll buy it with my 50% of my portfolio. Now we have those prices, but the people are running away. Like that's how it's always been, right? Like people get emotional when those prices come, and they always come when the market is gloomy. It just happens to be that, right? But people who've been in this industry for long, like they know this is the time to buy, right? But personally, like it's not a financial advice, but I'm personally buying at this time, right? Like I wish these prices were there a couple of months back. I'm lucky it's there, so I'm going in, right? So that's why I'm personally excited from the investment aspect, right? From the business aspect, I think when we started this company, the IO, like we had the vision in mind, and we thought, okay, we'll reach certain revenue this much amount of time, and this is the amount of inventory we'll have. But the amount of adoption and the openness we have seen for the Web3 industry from Web2 players also has been tremendous, right? Like we literally were having like less than a million revenue, and now here we are more than 30 ARR, right? In like less than a quarter. Just shows that the amount of adoption which is happening for the Web3 players is like immense in this cycle. We are basically getting customers from Web2 which have like 200 million, 300 million user base, and they're consuming resources from Web3. Like shows that how much people have become educated about Web3. Earlier, they will not even work with a Web3 project, and now here they are like spending millions of dollars on getting inventory. Like that just shows the power of the crypto and the Web3 players in this cycle, right? And at the same time, as some of these speakers like openly spoke, the amount of AI agents which are coming, I think, is very good for this industry, because I think AI and crypto will be the best partners together, because whatever AI lagged to scale, the crypto gives them, whether it be the access to data, whether it be access to cheap compute, whether it gets an access to their own a part of the money with tokenomics, where they had to run on with investors, like multiple other things, right? The crypto actually powers them with all these things, and people have started to realize it. And when I went to the Indian blockchain event, or recently with Talk Token, like, or for that matter, you see all the events which are coming in, let's say, be it in ETH Denver or it in Consensus in Hong Kong, you will see majority of the topics are around AI. That just shows on ground how much work is happening, how much adoption is happening, and how much love is there for this particular piece of the industry, right? So I think we're just in a very, very early phase. The more the developers come from Web2 to Web3, the more the products get built right now. It's just a hockey stick growth like in few months. So like super excited, like super excited.
I think I'll just add one thing from my side, some like shilling for IO. So I think the thing that I'm really excited about is our upcoming IO intelligence product launch as well. I think a lot of what everyone has talked about today has been about sort of like this anticipation of the explosion of AI agents. this year, and sort of all the use cases that we're going to see coming out pretty soon in the adoption of those. I think in the same way, our sort of mission at IO is to essentially enable AI/ML builders to build and experiment, right, and sort of make that as easy as possible for them. So I think with us sort of being able to offer like really cheap, efficient access to a variety of sort of state-of-the-art open source models that are hosted on IONET GPUs through an API in the form of IO Intelligence will really sort of open up the design space for 10x the number of builders who don't necessarily want to manage their own GPU infrastructure, right? They just want access to the latest, greatest models, don't want to think about how they're actually going to host and deploy them. They just want to plug them into sort of like a really cool consumer AI app idea or agent idea and, focus on what they do best, right? So I think I'm really excited to kind of see that product out in the market and see a lot of the folks here and beyond sort of start using it and playing around with it.
Yeah, just adding to it, like just imagine how the industry have turned in the cycle. Earlier in crypto, people used to launch the product and then the adoption used to happen. This is one of the rare times, like what Tosif was saying, this IO Intelligence product, where we're basically deploying many powerful models and different parameter variations and tunings to give us an API and as a chat product also to both consumers and the companies. We basically built it like early January and we were working on it. And now there are some players we historically have worked together in past. They're already consuming it. So before even the launch, there are like already adopters of the projects in the background before the market, like the product is even given to the masses. That is the kind of adoption which is happening for AI. So it's just a beginning, guys. So don't get panicked and spooked with what's happening in the token prices. Keep looking for the builders in the industry. There's a lot of good work happening. If you have a keen eye, you'll do well.
And with that, any other final thoughts or things on the horizon that everyone should be paying attention to? All right, then with that, we'll end today's space. I'd like to thank all of our guests for coming and speaking, all of our listeners, and stay tuned for next week.